Probably understandable. Third game in 4 nights on the road. Let's talk about it. Against the Pistons. It's the Hoops Nerd Show. All right, guys, before we get into this, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Let's bring this up. The Utah Jazz lose to the Detroit Pistons. This was kind of an ugly one. I did not see if the Pistons were playing on the back end of a back-to-back or something like that, but both teams were tired. And it's understandable for the Jazz because this was the third game in 4 nights on the road. They had just played a close one against Boston. And, you know, this Pistons team is a tough team. You can kind of tell they're kind of a defensive first team. In fact, let's just refresh this advanced thing just to see where the Pistons are actually. Detroit is the number 3 defense in the NBA. So this is what they are. They are tough. They are hard to score on. And it just is bogged down. And so it makes sense that Utah Jazz offense just looked bogged down at times. Now, at the same time, they didn't, well, maybe their offense is 18th in the league. Okay, that's better than I would have expected. Maybe tonight was kind of a tough one for them, but they just really struggled to score a little bit. When Cade got hot in the fourth quarter, though, that was pretty awesome for them. But man, it was a slog for them. They really do need some sort of scoring. I don't know when Jaden Ivey is going to join them, but they could sure use him. You can just tell they need another player. I also wanted to say, I given Cade Cunningham his props? I mean, he was the best player tonight. He was really good. 31 points, 10 assists. Just took over the game in the fourth quarter for sure. Duncan Robinson is the worst player in the NBA in literally every way. Just every single thing he does makes me mad. He is the worst. He's the worst. He is the worst player I've ever seen. He is the worst. The worst. When he was in Miami and I was rooting for them against, I think it was I can't remember who. He was the worst then. He got benched because he's terrible, and he's not very good here with this. And he goes 3 for 6 from 3 here. I don't care. He's so terrible. I can't stand Duncan Robinson. I can't stand Johnny Neutron or Jimmy Neutron, Duncan Robinson. I can't stand him. The other guy I like, though, is Asar Thompson, just pure, tough athlete. Did not take a single 3-point shot. It was kind of interesting because, you know, the Jazz wanted him and I wanted him. I wanted one of the Thompson twins. I wanted one of them in that draft so bad. And he's turned out to be such a good defender. Look at this. Best plus minus on the team. He's just a crazy good defender. So this Pistons team is just really defense first for sure. They just need some scoring. I think that's why, you know, the Lowry Markkanen rumors, I'm sure they'd love to have that. I mean, if you could replace Duncan Robinson with Lowry Markkanen, it makes this Detroit team pretty darn interesting. But I don't know if the Jazz are interested. To be honest, I don't think Ryan Smith is interested in losing games or trading players. I think he just kind of latches on to some of these players and is just in love with them. And he's like, I like them. I'm Ryan Smith. We're keeping them. So Lowry Markkanen's going to be on the team. Tough for you, Detroit. It doesn't matter what the Jazz fans want, only what Ryan wants. But anyways, shout out to this Detroit team who is very, very good defensively, and but not the most fun offensive team to watch. My gosh, are they not fun to watch offensively? Okay, Utah Jazz. I mean, like I said in the intro, this Jazz team. It was third game in 4 nights. Also, we get the news that Walker Kessler is out for the season. I mean, I was actually going to do a video about bursitis. I think it was you flipping the script that maybe in the chat one of the times we were talking about it. Bursitis, what they were saying is not something that just heals quickly. That is a long-term thing. And I was, with him going back to Utah, it was kind of I wouldn't be surprised if Kessler's shut down for like a month or two. That was what I was expecting. I did not expect season-ending surgery, you know? So, just to talk on the Kessler thing for a little bit, I mean, you got to feel bad for him. You can tell why he wanted that contract, because now he goes into restricted free agency after having come off of surgery. So he's got to be super frustrated personally. Utah, in a lot of ways, I mean, maybe it's a little cutthroat, but it's the right decision if you're trying to sign him on the cheap. But the thing is you don't know if there's another team out there that might just say, you know what, we know how good he is. He got surgery. We're fine with it. So I don't know if it changes too much. I think Kessler's still going to get a contract. Most likely, I think this does keep him with the Jazz. I do think it's interesting, though. You know, I don't know what the goal. I've heard some things about this Jazz team and who wants to do what and so on. I think that, you know, I think there are certain people in the front office that want to win. You can probably guess who. And I think there are some that don't want to like win the games. They'd rather develop and work towards getting a superstar in the draft, you know. Some of them aren't interested in having superstars on the Jazz. They just want to have, you know, good vibes and whatnot. This certainly helps the group that are more inclined to trying to get a superstar on the team that could lead the Jazz to a championship, and maybe multiple, depending on if you pick the right player in this draft, and if you get lucky and win, right, and you get a superstar. I mean, it's the way you win a championship. I thought it was interesting. Tony Jones tweeted that the Jazz would probably pick Darren Peterson number 1 if they're there. That's Tony Jones, but he's connected to the Jazz, so you know that's probably an educated guess. But the thing is there's a full season. In my opinion, I kind of just have a great feeling about Cam Boozer. I think he's just so tough and strong and talented and athletic and just flat out good. He's like the winningest high school player in history or something like that. He's just so good. He wins you games. But anyways, we're kind of off track here, but it's tough news for Kessler. You got to feel bad for him. Obviously, just the fact that he's going to go through surgery and recovery, and that's not going to be easy. It's going to take time. And he's got to be frustrated with the contract situation. And then for the Jazz, I mean, he's been the starting center for the last 3 years. They know what he brings. You know, there's chemistry there with the players, and they're not going to have him for the rest of the year. So it probably makes this Jazz team, it obviously does make the Jazz team not as good. Now, in some ways, the Jazz have been pretty interesting. You look at this Jazz defensive rating this year, I kind of want to do, so let's bring up Basketball Reference and just look at the time frames from when Walker Kessler played. Let's bring this up because I want to kind of look at this defensive rating. Right now, the Jazz defensive rating, number 1 is Oklahoma City by 4 points. They're just crazy good defensively. Utah is sitting at number 19, which is like 11 spots better than last year. So if you're looking for improvement, there's some right there. That is just markedly better. Walker Kessler, and his last game before he left, I mean, I probably was harsh, but he looked soft to me, and now it makes more sense because he was dealing with injury. Let's go here to game logs. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to go through this real quick and just... so he hasn't played... Last time he played was on Halloween, and he did not have a good game, and it looks like that was likely injury flaring up. So you probably need to just look at like 22nd through the 29th. Anyways, so let's do that. Let's advance this. October 22nd to October 29th. Oh, we gotta, oh no. All teams. Okay, get stats. Okay, so defensive rating in that time, Utah was 19, so maybe it doesn't change much. Offensive rating, Jazz were number 5. That was, I mean, some of those games were just crazy. And that included the games. I mean, Kessler did shoot like 6 for 8 from 3 in that period. And now let's change that to, when did Walker Kessler not play? The last 2 days. We can do it even today. So the last 3 games starting on 11/2. So let's just get back to here. 11/2 to today, which is November 5th. Let's do November 6th and get the stats here. Okay, defensive rating. Where does Utah number 15? This is something I mentioned online, but so, that's 4 spots. Maybe that doesn't mean anything, but I have to say there's something interesting about that we know that Walker Kessler and the Jazz are playing hard in these games. And these, interestingly enough, and you might say, oh, small sample size, which it is. But those first 5 games, Utah was just on like a tear offensively. These last 3 games have been on the road. So you could argue this is actually more difficult. They're in the other team's arena doing this, and they're 4 spots better defensively without Walker Kessler, which I think is really interesting. And this is something that I've kind of been wondering about for the last 3 years. Utah has had the worst defense in the NBA, literally, number 30, 2 of the last 3 years, and the other year they didn't. They were number 28, right? So I don't know what you take from that, but I do think that it's just something to kind of consider. And I do think that at trade deadline, if there's a trade that someone wants to make, if the Lakers give you just something crazy, then you might want to think about it. I don't think the Jazz are better without Walker Kessler. I do think they are worse, and maybe it shows up here. So Utah, in these last 3 games, number 28 offensively, when they have been so good to start. So this is where they've been struggling, is just to score. By the way, this Jazz team could very, very easily be 1-7. They really, if we're being honest, should have lost that Boston game. They came out with the 2-minute report afterwards, and that play where Keontae George fell and Jaylen Brown fell over him, they said that was an incorrect non-call, which was kind of obvious. They didn't call it, whatever. But Utah probably doesn't win that game if the refs do their job. And then the Jazz got, and I guess you could say at least 2-7, but that Phoenix game, Phoenix almost won that game as well. And so Utah very easily could be 1-7 without Walker Kessler. I mean, you can look at, let's see, it said Utah was number 5 offensively. So should we think of Walker Kessler as an offensive player? I don't know. But I do think it's just something to think about. Are the Jazz much different without Walker Kessler? I don't know. Defensively, they've been better. Offensively, worse. Now, is that because they're on the road? Tonight was the 3rd game of road trip. Probably why the offensive rating dropped so much was that, but it's just something to think about. And I do think Utah has been interesting with a stretch center. I would love to see Taylor Hendricks get some run at the center. I would. I think he could be more effective there. He's not had a very good season, to be honest. In fact, let's start this off going with Taylor Hendricks. He's struggled the last 2 games, although I do like him starting. I think one thing that's really interesting about Walker Kessler is, look at this. The starting unit minus Taylor Hendricks, all negative. Taylor Hendricks plus 10. I think that's just the sign of the defense. I think Taylor Hendricks is just a solid defensive player. And even though he's not playing particularly well right now, I do feel like that leg is just not quite there. I think we're not going to see the best of Taylor Hendricks until next year. It sucks. Because one thing with that terrible injury is it obviously takes 1 year away just from recovery. but then it takes another year of rehab, basically. And so maybe at some point he just kind of gets to 100%, and that leg is just completely okay. It sucks, though, because you can just kind of tell he's not quite what he was. Now, he was not much different before the injury. He still had a lot of development to go. So it's something to watch. I hope Taylor Hendricks turns into something really, really good. Right now, he's really interesting, and there's lots of good signs with certain things, but then there's just a little bit of lack of punch and impact, at least on the offensive end. Defensively, you can kind of feel it. And you can kind of see what Detroit has done with their team and why their team is so good defensively and why Utah should consider what Detroit is doing. You just have athletes, just tough as nails athletes at every position. Some of them can't shoot the ball, and some of them can't make a good pass for the life of them. Drove me crazy a little bit. But they are tough and in your jersey, playing hard, defending, athletic, and they're a good defensive team, number 3 in the NBA. So I think Taylor Hendricks can fit into that mold. You just want him to be tough in your jersey. I just want that leg to get better. Lowry Markkanen scored 25 points. It did take 22 shots. He got 6 free throws. It took him till the fourth quarter, I think, to get these free throws. But he did eventually kind of turn it on. 3 for 12 from 3. I got to say, guys, this is the thing that was driving me crazy last year, is the three-point shooting is just not as efficient as everyone makes it out to be. Once again, we're down to 37%. So he's been sub 40 the last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last year he was at 34. We're now down to 37 after a really hot start. And so it's just something to watch. He needs to hit more shots. Now, for those of you who are like me, I'm okay with him missing because I would like Darren Peterson to lead the Jazz to a championship. That would be really fun. I tell you what, if Darren Peterson's on this team with Keontae George and you have 2 ultra dynamic guards just tearing people apart, Ace Bailey at the small forward, and if the Jazz can get lucky and keep Markkanen at the 4 and then figure it out what they do with the 5, that's a pretty darn fun team. And then you go into free agency. By the way, free agency, Utah's going to have money next year. So you can just see kind of this perfect plan kind of unfolding. If Utah can get lucky for once and get that number 1 pick and get the best player out of this draft, and then they go into free agency with money, maybe there's a guy out there you can bring over. Maybe come draft night, you just trade into the draft somehow and, get another guy that fits. I don't know, but it's really interesting what the Jazz could possibly do. And I think without Walker Kessler, I think they can keep Lowry Markkanen and lose those games. Like I said, the Jazz very easily could be 1-7. You got to give credit to the team that they were able to gut out those wins. And did I just see a ghost again? Dude, that was weird. I don't know, but anyways, something just went. What the or one of my kids is hiding. I don't know, but anyways, I don't know. It's interesting. One of the things I do have an issue a little bit, and I know everyone's gonna comment, "You hate Lowry Markkanen." No, I don't hate Lowry Markkanen. I like Lowry Markkanen. I think he's really good. I think Utah needs to have a superstar that leads the way, and Lowry Markkanen can play off of him. Markkanen, when he's the lead guy, you can just see he wears down. He just does. I don't know. He's athletic enough that he's okay, but he's not a super athlete, and he wears down. And Utah needs a superstar to kind of lead the way. It's why Keontae George has been really good for this team. But if you get like Keontae George and Darren Peterson kind of running the show from both sides of the floor, that is a dynamic backcourt. And Darren Peterson has like top 5 player upside. He's that good, guys. He really is. Same with Cam Boozer, same with AJ DeBonsa. If you get DeBonsa and you have a team of it's just very stupid not to go for that top 3, guys. It really is just dumb. It's dumb. Because if you get DeBonsa, you get Cam Boozer, you get Keontae George, and you fill this team out, it gets interesting. Cam Boozer doesn't really fit quite as well as, Peterson or DeBonsa would, because I think you could kind of fill the team with, DeBonsa, what's exciting about him is he's shown some real handle that he can kind of be a focal point. And man, if you put that on the Jazz, that fits really good. And then Darren Peterson, we know what he can do. And so you can see how crazy good this Jazz team could be. Cam Boozer, you have some questions because he plays the power forward. He could be the next Tim Duncan. That's the thing is if you go and you get the number 1 pick and it's just so obvious that Cam Boozer is like a MVP type player, then you just have to take him and you figure it out. I don't think Lowry Markkanen is going to be super successful as a 3. I think Markkanen is mostly successful as a power forward. We'll see, but that's down the road, right? Yusuf Nerkach got the start. He just doesn't hit a lot of shots. He did have 17 rebounds, though. Credit to Yusuf Nerkach, who's like 300 pounds, is plodding up and down the floor. He is dishonest with referees, but it's funny, so I like it. And he just is a tough dude. And so 6 points, 17 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and a block. Kind of a monster night for Big Nerk. Big Nerk, baby. But not much else to say, but it's nice to have him on the team. I do wonder what they're going to do with Kessler gone now. If they do make some sort of move to bring on some depth, I would prefer that they just kind of start experimenting with Taylor Hendricks at the 5, right? I just think that's probably the best idea. Svi Mikhailiuk, everyone, and I know all Jazz fans, if you're a Svi Mikhailiuk fan, then bless your heart, and I'm sure there are. He just, 3 games before this, he was shooting 3 for 20. He came back to his averages like Spitfire today. 10 for 16. He took 16 shots today. 6 for 11 from 3. He scores 28 points. He had 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 steal. So he was just shooting the ball tonight, and he was making his shots. So good for Svi. I still would rather just watch Ace Bailey. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. But you know what? If there's one thing Svi Mikhailiuk is doing, is he is turning himself into a trade target. Someone like the Detroit Pistons, who I believe Svi Mikhailiuk played for in the past, might want to trade for him. Now, what you can get for Svi, I don't know, but they might get something. I would definitely listen to offers if there's other teams wanting to trade for a shooter, because Svi Mikhailiuk is doing it. Keontae George had a tough night tonight. A lot of this has to do with the fact that 3rd game in 4 nights, and you're playing against the number 3 defense. You're getting defended by Asar Thompson. What is the turnovers? Only 2 credited, so that's pretty good. But you can see that in the shooting numbers. This was a tough battle. And this Pistons team, I have to respect their defense. They can't score at all, it feels like, but they certainly play defense. And so this was just a tough night shooting for Keontae George. Despite that, he still manages 6 assists. He still gets those 7 free throws. His ability to get to the line is the best on the team. It's high level. He's very good at it, and it makes him just a little bit more efficient. Tonight he wasn't super efficient, 18 shots for 19 points, but that's good enough, I guess. But 1 for 5 from 3. The 3-point shot is just not falling for him so far this year. What's crazy is that at some point he's going to have some sort of run and start hitting shots, and it's going to be crazy. But what is going really well is he's hitting his 2s. Not tonight, obviously, so it's something to watch, but he's getting to the line, hitting his 2s, and he's assisting the ball, and it's coming across really efficiently. And he's playing defense. You watch Keontae George play defense, and he's putting up a fight, and he's doing a good job, and he's staying in front of his man. By the way, his arms looked a little bigger than I thought. I think he got some strength, which is nice to see, probably helping on the defensive end. Kind of a good sign for the future as him as a defender and just as a developing player. If he's the type that will get into the gym and build that frame and add 5 to 10 5 pounds of muscle every season, you know. I don't know if he's going to add 5 every year. That would make him Arnold Schwarzenegger after 10. But if he's the type that really works in the offseason, builds his strength, and gets strong, you know, he could become a high-level defender. Why not? At the very least, it's nice to see him be just average. I'd say his defense right now is average, and that's great. Going from not good before to average is awesome. And, you know, you got to give credit to Keyonte George as well this year, because this was kind of a make or break year. And I'm sure he knows that, because next year it's extension time. And if he was not playing well this year, I'm sure he knows this, then you're looking at bench time. And then next year, Utah's going to draft again. And let's say they do get Darren Peterson, Keyonte George would be an afterthought. But because he's playing well now and doing really well, at least improving, then it bodes well for the future. If he's a player that just gets better every year, those are the players you want to keep and pay, because they just get better and better and better. And it certainly seems like Keyonte George is that type of guy. He works hard, competitive, super smart, and he loves basketball. What more could you want? And so, yes, there's things that still need to improve in Keyonte George's game. There's no question. The shooting, you know, is just got to get better. He's got to make some, you know, he's just got to improve as a defender still, but he has already defended. He's making better decisions. He's assisting the ball at an elite level. I'd argue that one of the things that's really impressive with him has been his handle. Like he's, you know, he had 2 turnovers today, and they were bad ones, but you know, it's getting better. Last season, there were times where he couldn't get the ball up the floor. Now he's doing a pretty darn good job. So it's nice to see that. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a solid contract from the Jazz, if not a very good one. Who knows? We'll see. But he's the type of player Utah's probably not trading anytime soon. All right, Ace Bailey, 2 nights in a row, he gets 19 minutes. He just is starting to contribute more and more. And I know he's trying to earn that starting spot. And I guess that's just a Will Hardy thing, that rookies have to earn it. You know, veterans, when they play poorly, apparently they don't get a ton of repercussion. Although I guess he did have Filipowski go to the bench, replaced with Taylor Hendricks, and that's a defensive decision. In fact, you know, we talk about these defensive numbers. The Jazz defense getting better kind of coincides with Taylor Hendricks going to the starting unit. So that's just something to think about too. So when we talk about players, we don't just talk about offense. We got to talk about defense. But anyways, Ace Bailey, he's starting to figure it out, and you see his impact when he's on the floor. He's still got a lot of polish to do, and he's got a lot of learning to do, and things he can also improve. But the talent is so incredibly apparent. And I love how hard he tries to rebound the ball, how hard he plays. He got 4 free throws tonight, which is nice to see. You could see he was cutting more and willing to get the pass. Nice to see. So 3 for 6 from the field. That's great. 4 rebounds, including 3 offensive rebounds. That's just him battling. An assist. Just nice to see. So he's doing his best, and his defensive assignments have been pretty tough. So I think eventually he's going to get this starting spot. I think if Utah gets any sort of nice offer for Svi Mikhailiuk that doesn't interfere with the development of the youth, they should absolutely take it and let Ace Bailey get into the starting unit. It would be nice to see. Filipowski coming off the bench is, I think, the way to go. Last game, he honestly was a major part of that win against the Boston Celtics. Tonight, he came down to earth a little bit. That Celtics defense was pretty Swiss cheese. Tonight was night and day. You're going up against, you know, what's his name? Chris Stewart, I think it is. Isaiah Stewart. And he's the guy that, remember, he tried to, he was going to attack LeBron, and, 3 guys had to hold him back. Isaiah Stewart's one of the toughest guys in the league. And, so anyways, this is a tough defense for the Pistons, and Filipowski struggled. 1 for 5, 0 for 2 from 3. He might also be tired a little bit, who knows, but he's coming off the bench. 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Does a little bit of everything, but he had some struggle moments tonight, that's for sure. And sometimes that just happens. It's a good team. Just because you're young or whatever, good players also struggle against good defenses too. Harkless got 10 minutes, and it was kind of like he's earned a little bit of rotation time. He went 1 for 1. Honestly, Elijah Harkless has kind of replaced Bryce Sensabaugh. Sensabaugh came in for 7 seconds. I don't know why, but Harkless has earned that spot from Sensabaugh, and I think it's because of defense. I think this Jazz team is trying to defend better, and that's probably the answer. For anyone wondering about Bryce Sensabaugh, I think it's a defensive thing, because that's probably why Taylor Hendricks is starting, and we know that Taylor Hendricks can spread the floor. Harkless has probably earned that because of defense. Kevin Love is getting off the bench now, too. With the Kessler injury, 13 minutes for him, 0 for 3. He took 3 threes and missed them. He might be a little bit in the twilight. No, we know he's in the twilight. That's no question. But anyways, Kevin Love, not a lot to say tonight. He moves the ball and the offense flows with him on the floor. I just think he's kind of at the tail end. Walter Clayton Jr. is continuing to just improve. He did have 4 turnovers tonight, so that was the tough thing. 2 for 4 from the field, though. 1 for 2 from 3. In fact, I'm kind of curious where he's at 3-point wise, because he struggled to start. But what is that 3-point percentage at right now? 33. So that's nice to see. He's getting better. So anyways, I think Walter Clayton has a chance to be really nice. We'll just see what he develops into. Is he a starter? I don't know. Is he a backup? I don't know. We'll see, but he certainly looks like an NBA player, and that's a nice thing to get that at like 19 or whatever it was. And then we talked about Bryce Sensabaugh a little bit. I don't know. I think there might be a team out there willing to make a trade for him if the Jazz don't want to play him, but we'll see. I would not be surprised if we see Bryce Sensabaugh come back. But he was struggling to shoot, and if he's not hitting his shots, he doesn't seem to be a very good defender and not a particularly good playmaker. He does make an assist like a game, but beyond that, not really much. So that was kind of a tough loss, probably a scheduled loss, guys, to be honest. 3 games in 4 nights. The Jazz continue to be on the road. I think in 2 days they're playing. Who do the Jazz play? Let's see. So on Friday, the Jazz will play the Timberwolves. Where is that at? Is that in? I think this is in. I don't know. I think that's in Minnesota. Or it might be at home, actually. I don't know. We'll find out, but I don't know. It's at, well, what time is it? 6 o'clock, so it's probably in Minnesota. Anyways, guys, let's start the music. And let's see. So Utah, with this loss, now sits at number 8. They're really, really pushing it with that Oklahoma City Thunder stuff. Okay, let's bring this down. Just a tad, so it's not drowning everything up. So, here we go. If the lottery was today, Utah sits at 8. They'd keep their pick if they stay at 8. Man, what is all this? How do I exit this? Okay, there we go. All right, if the lottery was today, what would happen? Utah drops to 9. Worst case scenario, Oklahoma City gets the pick. Oh my gosh, could you imagine? Could you imagine? Number 9 again, like when they took Taylor Hendricks. The pain, the agony. Memphis gets the number 1 pick. Phoenix gets the 4 pick, gives that to Washington. Washington not only gets that, but they get the 4 and the 5. Miss out on the top 3. Brutal for Washington in that scenario. But I think Washington's giving their pick to Memphis? Wow. Anyways, that was fun. But we just lost our pick to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Probably time to start thinking about trading Svi Mikhailiuk, Jazz. And probably, I don't know. Could we make a few moves so that this, like with the Walker Kessler injury, what are you doing? What are you doing? Can we think this through just a little bit? All right, can we have a little bit big picture for once? All right, let's give a shout out to the All-Stars. It's Steve Areno, Steve Stevens. Let him cook sturdy pots. Ezekiel Raisibe, the man from down under. Tyson Price, the price is right. See ya, Lex Later, Jordan the GOAT, Besserell, Ryan Edward Perry, the legend, Christian House Money DeHaas, Robert Hall of Fame, I Believe in Steve, Jazz Exile, Austin R. Grant, Editor Extraordinaire, Flipping the Script, the OG, and Patrick Akubo, the Connoisseur. Patrick, are you coming to Utah anytime soon? Haven't seen my guy for a while. All right, guys, that's it. I didn't do a video yesterday. I was a little preoccupied. But I will be very much doing a video tomorrow. Guys, like the video, subscribe.